tendency to touch the screen right when I set it down. This might fall. I usually secure it with a plastic band. I get ringing in my ears. Interesting. I made some matcha, some coffee. I turned some lights on, drank some water, went to the washroom, stood outside. It's getting darker each day now, earlier. I did make a video last night. It was a longish video. I was talking about tarot cards. I think I misused the Seven of Wands. Basically just being an offensive standpoint. And you're carrying a wand, but there's 6 other wands. But I think I confused that with the 7 of Cups. And I spilled wax on my Lululemons. And I was going off about that. Sometimes I get stuck on things. I got most of it off. It's okay. Could be worse. Could get wax on something else, I guess. Mr. Freeze. About 3/4 through Batman and Robin. Oh. Jesus. You ever drink something and it just sends tingliness throughout your entire body? Like you're on a swing or a roller coaster? I was just working on some originals. There's no such thing as time, and there's no such thing as perfection. There's some things you fancy more so than others, but it's all subjective, you know? It's based on the individual, their preferences and their tunage. Like your ears are tuned into different frequencies, right? Not everyone's the same. Maybe more so in a biological sense. So interesting when they I talk about my interests that I'm in at the time, but the Bible, like when they wrote it, it was in Hebrew, and it's before Latin was ever a thing, right? But then they wanted to convert it to Latin, but so the forbidden tree of knowledge, you know, of good and evil, the forbidden fruit, it's depicted as an apple, because in Latin the guy who translated it was it was like a pun, right? Because good and evil, and then malus, M-A-L-U-S, the Latin word malus means evil, but also has another meaning. What do you call those when one word has more than one meaning, but it also means apple. So when he translated it from Hebrew to Latin, he used the word malice, but malice, they took it as an apple. And also when they're talking about Adam and Eve, right, in the Garden of Eden, the normal Hebrew, like the normal scripture, like the Old Testament, it was the word used in the Hebrew sense meant the side of, but it was used like 45 times, like around that, many in the Bible. But the only time they used it for the side of, as in a rib, was in when they're talking about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. So they chose certain things to paint a certain picture, which I'm not too keen on. Words, meanings get lost in history. It's like, excuse me. It's like the little thing you used to do in school where you would whisper in someone's ear. The first messenger had it right. And then you whisper it, and eventually it gets back to you, and it's something completely different. Like, the dog has a white tail. And then when it gets back to you, like after it's whispered 20 times to different people, is like the fog has a white snail or something like that, right? Gets misconstrued. So in the Hebrew sense, the side of, when talking about the Garden of Eden and whatnot, and how Adam, gave a piece of himself to make Eve, right? So he became less whole to make another, and they became like this. To be one, they had to be like this. But separate, they were not complete, so to speak. And then you have Adam's first love, which wasn't Eve, it was Lilith. But they were made the same, complete. But Lilith didn't like to conform to being controlled, It was kind of, in a sense, like Lucifer. Didn't like being under the hierarchy of someone else. So in the role of, since the dawn of time, the role of man, the testosterone, the male, the alpha, takes precedence, takes control in sexual tendencies, right? It's like mating season, It's like the what's a good term? What's a good analogy? When caribou or anything like that, when it's mating season, they'll fight each other with their horns, and it's like a dominance thing, and they get to ravage the woman, right? Where the woman won't really have a say because it's all about power. But Lilith didn't succumb to that, right? And so she was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And then, so in a sense, she is kind of like how Lucifer was with the angels and God up above. But it was down here, right? So God made everyone with free will, right? But in the sense, the Hebrew sense, it makes more sense for the side piece to be the male phallic, right? Mammals, like dogs, they have a bone there. It's not like ours, where it just gets harder. There's an actual bone. I forget what it's called. It's a weird name. It starts with a C, but it's just the human phallic, the mammal phallic, the penis. So humans are missing that, right? For some reason. But through evolution, if you believe that in evolution, I believe in evolution, but it'd be like you think we would have it, and then also, like the appendix doesn't serve a use anymore, that type of thing. Even our nails don't really make sense, really. We just keep trimming them. Not me. I got these talons for my guitar playing. But on this hand, I have to trim them. But it just makes you wonder how we're supposed to live. But so it was the Hebrew, the side of could have meant that, right? Your penis, the bone in your penis. And so he could have gave that to make Eve, because he wasn't actually lacking a rib. Like you would think he gave one of his ribs, right, to make Eve, but it would, when they procreated together, their offspring would have, you think, would have one less rib, or so to speak. Like if you could just take something away and give it to someone and you become less whole, then that would screw up your the way you pass on things, right? Pass on your genes and also your physical attributes. So like the male bone of the phallic. So it's very interesting. It just makes you wonder what else. You'd almost have to learn the ancient language to truly know. Or go back in time. But the book of Enoch is very interesting. Enoch. It's very interesting. And also talks about how through an army of angels there was giants were made, and there's evidence of these giants throughout history, like in bones, and also the weapons they wielded, because the angels that were fallen, as you would say, like what's that one? It starts with an A. Isaias, that angel. I think that's what the name is. But it basically taught man how to fight with weapons, right? I guess it would kind of be like the god of war almost, but Isaias. And then but you find these things throughout history, like these oversized weapons that don't really make sense You know, it's that kind of stuff. It's very interesting. Maybe giants, which would be kind of like how Amazons were, like Amazon women were big in size. And we do have like giants today. Like, it's just less common, really. I mean, if you think about basketball players and how some people are 7 foot tall, and it's kind of like, would that be Darwinism? Passing down those type of genes, like a giraffe with a long neck. They survived because they could reach the leaves up above, and then those giraffes got to procreate because they had the will, the adaptation. I believe true strength lies in adaptation, because we're constantly having to change and adapt, right, to our circumstances. But so you take the giraffe, like if a long neck would have been in some way a disadvantage, maybe with the calories that you would burn versus the food you would ingest in a time of, you know, survival, where there was less food to go off of, or if you needed a smaller body to fit in other places to get food or shelter, would the giraffe still have a long neck, or would it be a shorter neck through the past genes? So why did these giants die out? Why indeed? And you also have those giants, right, that would have more of a human strength. Like let's just say giants helped build the pyramids. That's more plausible than us doing it, because the stones are so heavy. One of the people that amaze me time again, it's like reading the same book but finding new pieces of information, is the catalog of Neil Young and his lyrics. But I think it was 2012, psychedelic pill album. One of the songs is "Walk Like a Giant," right? I wanna walk like a giant on the land, and it's just very interesting. And then you have this 2010 album, "The Noise," which is LE space NOISE. Basically talking about the noise of the world and how we're so busy and not really changing in our ways because we think we don't have to until we're forced to. Like COVID, right? Like we're forced to change. Some people don't like that change, but 2010 album, 10 years ago, you listen to those lyrics, Egyptian history, mythology, the evidence. It dates back past the time of the Bible, right? You may find more answers looking into the Egyptian culture, ancient Egypt.